Hey guys, welcome back. So we're back for part 1 for Phases of Moon Knight, and in this one we learn more about the newly resurrected Mark Spector. And on top of that we get a look at the prior Moon Knight's capabilities when he goes head to head with the OG powerhouse. Make sure if you're enjoying these videos, drop a like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get the notification.
Moon Knight is back, and guys, let me tell you, the end of this comic is awesome. So we actually open up with Mark Spector talking to Dr. Sturman. And Mark Spector is kind of going through his normal motions. He pretty much feels like he's never going to be forgiven for all the sins he's committed. But while he's having a conversation with Dr. Sturman, Max Calderidge, the Shroud, is on his way to the Midnight Mission. While on his way, he keeps thinking to himself that it's been quite some time since he's seen Mark Spector. He actually begins to knock on the door at the Midnight Mission, but he starts instantly having regrets. It also doesn't help that Moon Knight pretty much lays it on someone else to answer the door. After some time patiently waiting, Max decides to walk away, but not before he's talking to himself, and he says, "I shouldn't need Mark's help. I can do this on my own. I don't need a team. That's behind me now. I'll come back and show that old priest, Khonshu, what I can do. I'll show Mark all the justice I can bring in this world. I'll show him." While leaving the Midnight Mission behind, 2 prior Moon Knights answer the door, but no one can be found. Finding his new resolve, Max decides to hit the streets, where he first goes on the prowl to attack prior villains such as Waxman, Digger, and Tendermillion. They were all members of the Night Shift, and they all have the lengthy history behind them. When the Shroud goes to attack all 3 of these, he dons his Moon Knight costume. Max begins to attack these guys. And his justification is, well, yeah, they're not doing something now, but they're probably going to do something in the future because they're always up to nefarious things. I mean, these are criminals, and I kind of understand where he's coming from, and to some degree, I wish Batman did something like this from DC. So this is his new resolve: fighting criminals before they commit another act of crime, although they already committed many acts of crime in the past. These 3 also have history. They betrayed him a long time ago. During this fight, this is when Max comes to the realization that he really doesn't want to be the Shroud anymore, that he wants to be Moon Knight. He wants to be known as the vigilante that brings justice to the streets and to the world. And not only just amongst villains, but amongst the heroes, he wants to be widely accepted. He even says, "Now I have to live up to the new name I've taken. I am the Shroud no more." Max has a lengthy history. It's actually akin to Batman. So he, just like Batman, he was also wealthy with his parents. His parents got robbed one day and killed by the robber. He was then raised by the family attorney, which Max walked in his footsteps and became a lawyer. As a lawyer, he soon realized he couldn't get all the criminals in the law justice system. He then turned to more unconventional means. He joined the cult of Kali. He put a whooping to these guys. All 3 of these got horrendously beat, and it just goes to show how capable Max really is. While Tattermillion is actually attacking him from the back, Max knows his gloves are laced with a lot of chemicals, but he knows they won't go through Max's costume. But having so much experience and capability underneath him, he sets fire to Tattermillion, which is also the weakness of Waxman. And he saves the best for last. He totally goes to Digger and throws him off the side of a building pretty much. He drops him off there. Digger lands on a car. Some dude named Christopher Jones wakes up and he discovers the Digger on the car in the morning. And he's like, dude, this guy is all kind of broken. But whilst that's going on, you actually have Max going back to his lair, which is basically just monitors and a bed on the floor, a mattress on the ground. He goes and relishes in his own work, while the newscasters and anchors are talking about Moon Knight, the vigilante, committing atrocities and crimes across the city. Essentially what this is they're saying he's beating up people for fun. He's kind of lost it. And everyone believes that this is Moon Knight because he donned the Moon Knight outfit. By the end of it, he lays in bed and says to himself, another job well done. The next part of the comic goes to 1200 England. We're introduced to a prior Moon Knight named Cassian. It goes on to say Cassian was born a peasant, but these crusaders traveling along on the road saw this big fella and said, you know what? We're going to conscript him to our army and our causes. We're going to make him a part of this war. And they did. And Cassian doesn't have too many objections because he goes, you know, I might as well travel to somewhere a lot warmer, which is a weird way to take a vacation in my opinion. And Cassian proves himself. He's a great fighter. He fights for 3 long years, thousands of miles away from home, and it just shows how capable of a person Cassian was. However, while eating around a campfire, Cassian realizes that this is not what he signed up for. That yes, he didn't even really sign up for it, that he was forced to go to this war, but he really is tired now of this grueling process of fighting for things he doesn't believe in, he doesn't care about, he doesn't want to be a part of. So whilst at this campfire, he goes, you know what, I'm out of here. See you later, guys. And he starts walking away while in the desert. While walking in the desert, he gets hit by an incredible sandstorm that just wrecks him. I mean, it's piercing his skin. It's all over the place. He has to even put on his helmet because he's getting beat up by it so much. While walking in the sandstorm, Khonshu is in the back watching Cassian. Cassian eventually passes out. Many hours later, possibly even days, he wakes up and begins to hurl on the floor. So Cassian wakes up in a temple where he's met by a jackal. This jackal is leading him deeper inside the Moon Knight temple, which if you ask me, I'm not gonna follow any jackal. Dude, I won't follow a squirrel into another room, let alone a jackal. But while he's up, he starts hearing these voices, but one of them sounds familiar in his native tongue. And while he's there, Khonshu speaks to him directly and says, step into the light. There's a crescent moon on the floor, where he then steps into the light, and in a flash, Cassian then sees his past, his present, and his future in these hieroglyphic and pictures in his mind. It basically shows him where he came from when he was a pig herder, a farmer in other words, when he joined the Crusaders, when he fought for the Crusaders, him traveling in the desert, then coming to Khonshu's temple, then he begins to don the Moon Knight costume, and then he fights an epic battle with none other than the OG Apocalypse. Which when I first saw this, I was taken back because it's Apocalypse and it's showing in the last panel Apocalypse's head held up by Moonlight. However, after Cassian sees this, he rejects it. He doesn't want to become another soldier in someone else's war again. He just left that. So he's not too quick to jump into another one. As he begins to walk out the temple, he then wakes up in the desert. Gripped in his hand is a silver scarab. He figures the devil is better than the one you don't, so he begins walking back to his prior company. Whilst walking there, he sees flocks of crows, all circling around the bodies of his former team. Guys, this isn't one or two. There are dozens of bodies here, and there's like all these animals just basically eating at them, corpses. On the bodies, the big letter A. And that's what I mean, guys. It's Apocalypse. Apocalypse is a one-man army. No one stepped into Apocalypse like that. But Cassian soon realized that these bodies were meant more as a scare tactic than anything else, that they're hung up here impaled to scare people from coming towards the area. So Cassian walks inside and he can hear, it's as bad as you would imagine with slavery and everything. Cassian could hear amid the whip cracks and the stone scrapes and creaking ropes. And of course, while walking up to this construction, Cassian begins to hear En Saba Nur. This is the chant that all the slaves are basically saying out loud. En Saba Nur, just for you guys who don't know, means the apocalypse. And so there's Apocalypse, and dude, he looks awesome. He's in his Egyptian costume, just standing there, big as ever, big as life itself, and he's just a towering figure over everyone. And I just gotta say, this one dude lifting that brick, I don't know what that weighs, maybe like a ton, maybe 2 tons, something like that. And this one dude's lifting it. These can't be normal, guys. I feel bad for these dudes. They're malnourished yet stronger than any dude of these times. It's crazy. So this is where you get to see Cassian's mind unfold. Cassian is a planner, and you can see that he's capable. He basically waits till the day goes by and it turns to night. And while waiting, he sneaks up on Apocalypse and actually strikes him from the back. And he manages to actually land a hit on Apocalypse, which is crazy. But Apocalypse is like, nah, that's nothing. Get out of here with that. That feels like nothing, man. What are you doing? As a matter of fact, Cassian's sword breaks on Apocalypse's skin. And then Apocalypse delivers what has to be the only pimp slap ever given in this universe. He backhands this guy with just pure fierce ferocity. However, this is when Cassian realizes it takes a monster to fight a monster. He then pulls out the silver scarab and accepts Khonshu's offer. I have to say, Cassian looks awesome in the Moon Knight costume. He looks incredibly cool. I love how they did. He's shrouded with this power and he begins to fight Apocalypse. I would have liked to see more during this battle with Apocalypse. This is Apocalypse, dude. This is the OG. This is the guy. So Cassian winds up cutting off Apocalypse's head and presenting it to everyone, which is probably like one of the most frightening things anyone could ever see, dude. Make sure to drop a like, subscribe, and comment. Thanks, guys. See you in the next one.